Hello, we are here doing our final signature for our album, and it is going to be this back right panel. We're going to do a flip up closure, and this is one side and this is the other, but I'm choosing to use this side. It goes with the flow of the other papers I'm using a little bit better. And then on the flip side, I have this piece that I'm using, and then I'm going to make a tuck down here out of one of the cards, and this card is absolutely beautiful, and it says, "Why not?" And we're going to use two magnets because we've got two sides of this that we're going to be wanting to close. So one magnet in the center is not going to work, so we're going to do two. This is the other piece that I pulled out that I used for the front of the album, and it has two circle embellishments on it. And when I cut this, I cut from, on one side I cut left to right and then right to left so that I could get these moon-shaped emblems in here. I cut them out using my circle die, and then I went a little bit larger and put some gold cardstock behind it, and then I've got some pop-ups I'm going to put on there. So that's what I've done with both of them, and I've rounded these corners. So then when you open this up, this is the pattern that I chose to use, and it on the reverse side has those large cutout cards. And we're going to put those on the left and right panels, and then along the edge, the seam there, the hinge, we're going to do a long tuck. Now I am out of the paper. That first sheet that we pulled out that we've been trimming off of, it's done. So this is what we're going to use so that we've got some vibrant color coming here against this patterned paper on both sides. And these measure 1 inch across without this gold die. I'll give you the other measurements here in a minute. I just want to get through explaining to you everything I am doing. And then we're going to have a waterfall, and they're going to be two different sizes. They're going to be the same length, but different widths, so that you can accommodate those shallower in width photos, and then you've got your wider width photos. They're going to be 5 on each side. We'll get to those in just a second. I want to get down here to the base page. Don't want to lose those. This is what I chose for my base page. I just really like that design. The back side of it had those very large 5 3/4 cutouts, but I want to play with this side for my base. Now this measures, get some things out of my way here. This measures at 8 5/8 across. It's going to be bigger because it's on that back panel. So 8 5/8 across by 8 5/8 in your height. But when you cut this, make sure you're cutting the pattern whichever way you want to see it. I want the shell-shaped ornaments to be up. So now let's go ahead and let's start to play with the waterfalls. First off, these are the two large cards that I cut out. This one I didn't have to do any trim to. This one I did. I had to take some off the sides in order for it to fit here. This one I did not have to do that to. And then the rest of these are just my scraps that I've got, that I chose a pattern to use, and I'm covering only one side. Now, this side of the waterfall, these will measure 3 3/4 of an inch across by 6 1/4 in the height, and then you're going to have a 1/2 inch score. On the 1/2 inch score, you're going to fold it over, and then I cut a piece that measures Oh, you know what? I think I gave you the wrong measurement here. No, these are 2 3/4. Or 3 3/4. That's 3 3/4. I did this one down here wrong. 3 3/4. So I cut a piece that's 3 3/4 in width by 2.5 inches, and I put my waterfall on that piece. Now when I go to put this on, it's only this one piece that I have to worry about, and I can just straighten it out quite quick and easily and get it down. And I did that for both of these. But staying with this one, and then I took some trim and I cut, these are 3/8 of an inch, but they don't go all the way to the end. So they're 3/8 in width, and they are 3 5/8 in length. And so I'm covering the hinge all the way through. And then when you get to the last one, that's this loose little hinge that's rolling around up here. It's going to be covered here. And then you're still going to have a spot down below here where you can put a photo on both sides. So the pattern pieces that I chose, and you've got a lot of strips of paper, pattern paper that we've been cutting and trimming and kind of setting aside. Some of this will fit this width and some of it will fit the smaller width. So you'll need to just go through your scraps and select what's going to fit the width on this. So this is the pattern I chose, the white star, and then here was the colorful moon, and then we have the sun, and then the last one was this darker element. And then over here, it's the same thing. I was able to get enough, phew, that scared me, trimmings that I could actually mimic on the same side. So you'll need to just kind of go through your scraps and find out what's going to work for you. And then again, I cut 3/8 of an inch strips. This time, these are only 3 3/8 in their length so that they fit inside the hinge. Okay, you'll make 5 of these. You will cut 5 of these. This side will be 3 3/4 in width by 6 1/4, scoring it at 1/2. This side is going to be 3 1/2 by 6 1/4, scoring it at 1/2, folding it back and putting your tape on. Now I rounded the corners on the bottom of all of these. So if you are ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and kind of push these in so I don't lose them. Take the tape off. And again, this is just a square piece. It's easier for me, so I can put them all together so I'm not worried about trying to get everything level on camera. These help to get things level. Okay, spacing these apart so that you've got room. And I'm going to set this one here just simply because the tape is already there. And then I will match up this side in height here and in the width that I'm allowing here on the ends. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to everything. Okay, I got to get that out of the way, it's loose. Okay, but I'm going to cheat. It's okay when I set it down to begin with, but then I want to make sure I'm getting level and I'm approximately the same width. Okay, ta-da. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start gluing some things together so we can get the waterfall finished. Now, these cards, pick whichever one you want to use. You do not have to use specifically what I'm using. Create your own personality. I always sell my albums, so I try really hard to stay neutral in a lot of the elements that I use. Wow, I got a big gap up there. I bet I did that on all of these. No, just that one. Well, interesting. Now you are going to have a bit of paper left over. If you want, you can cover both sides. You could also hold on to it for really quick future projects like a folio. You need about, depending upon how big you want that folio to be, you need probably 8 to 10 sheets, just simply because you're cutting into large sheets of paper for a small pattern, and you don't always get to use, so if it was 6 by 6, you could get a couple of trims, but if you do an 8 by 8, you're not going to get enough trim out of that. See, you've got lots of room there. Okay, let's get over here. It's so much easier to do the hinge, but that's kind of out of habit. And the last one on the hinge. Okay. There you go. Those are together. Now we're going to work on the two side panels, and then we'll work on the top panel, and we will come back to all of this in a minute. So these two panels are going to be the same. They're going to be at 5 inches across by your 8 5/8 in your height. You're going to come in and you're going to score these at 1/2 and then again at 5/8. Now we want that hinge on top because that's going to help to take in a lot of this bulk that's right here. So the hinge, we're going to pull this in right up to that 1/2 inch score line. Now when you lay this over, as you feel your hand over here, you're going to feel that you have a little bit of bulk. Just be mindful of it and just go ahead and press that down over. Okay, let's get the other one. Same measurements. Coming up to that 1/2 inch score line. And then we're going to press that in. Okay. Now let's work on this little dude, and then we'll set our magnets. So this is going to measure 4 5/8 across. And then the length of this without this pattern on the bottom, this is going to measure in at 8 5/8 in length. And then you're going to come in here and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, and you're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch. I want this to be able to come up and over. You're going to have some more bulk as you add pictures, so this is going to allow for these two side flaps to raise, and this will still keep things closed. Do I have tape on that? I do. So you're going to come in here and you're going to center it just as best as you can. I'm centering mine with my little design. I don't know what it is that you're using. You are going to come all the way up to the 1/2 inch score because we want that hinge to be again on the top of the album. Okay, so it looks like this. Now you could try and get away with an 1/8 of an inch hinge, but I think that as you add photos, you're going to find that this is going to raise, and you're going to want that room, and you don't want the tension on this because it's not floating over. That's just my opinion, and that's how I make mine. So you're certainly, you can make your changes as you need to. Whatever you feel works the best for you. And now I'm going to put a magnet about 1/2 inch in on both sides so that when this closes, it's going to place magnets about here on both of them. So we'll take these off. I do things probably a lot different than other designers, so just whatever works for you, whatever you're used to. As long as in the end, we've all gotten onto the same page. Slide that off, and I need to do a little bit of side trim here. Okay. Now, I am going to add some tape to these so they don't take a walkabout. All right. I am going to put there. I want to work on the outside in on this one. Usually it's inside out, but I'm going to go outside in just because I want to change things up. Okay, so this is the piece. This is the other image on the reverse side. You are more than welcome to use that if that suits your fancy. But I've got a lot of moon shape going on here, so I am using this side. Now you could, and I almost did it, but you could put this on your die cutting machine and cut these out, mount them onto either really, really heavy cardstock or a cereal box, and then pop them up and then mount them back on here so that these two are raised. This is a little bit more intricate, but you could certainly do that fairly easy with these. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this in. Now I am going to take some Wink Estella and I'm going to go over this gold streak that's running in between the planets here. And I'm not worrying about the dark blue that's in between them just because it would be too time consuming. So I'm just going to cover all of this. And that way I have just a little flourish going on here. Ta-da! Okay, let's open this up. I'm going to get rid of this now. And we're going to put this piece on. I'm going to turn this sideways. It's going to be a lot easier to work with. Well, that piece of paper wanted to come along. Take these off. Match it up to the bottom and then lay it up from there. Because this piece of tape is going to be right on top of the two strips that are underneath. At least on mine. Okay, and then again, use any card you want, or you can cut a strip that's going to go straight across, put on your die if you are, but I've been eyeballing this card this entire time because I think it's just so pretty. And I'm just going to bring it right down here. So now we have a nice little tuck. And it's not interfering here with the magnets. Okay, these two. All right, so this is what I used for the outside, and it has the moon on both sides. I did run this through my die machine and I cut the circles out, and then I cut a little larger size for the gold accent on the behind of this. And then I popped it up on pop-ups. We'll glue this down. We're gonna, oops, no, shoot. I gotta do this last. I'm gonna just smear that on there and let it dry. I forgot I've got magnets here. I am gonna glue around that because I don't want that coming up. Use my thumb to trim around that curve. Okay. I'm going to open that up and get it out of my way. Okay, so now pull all this paper off the back of this tape. Okay. And then this is going to sit in here like so. A little bit of a raised element. And that's another reason for the 1/4 inch hinge right here, so that this can accommodate this height. Okay, let's put some tape on this. I'm going to start here. I don't know about you, but this bothers my line of sight when I'm down here. I can't look past it. I know I can. It just gets in the way. So I trim it out. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here. Oh my gosh, that just took a canter. Wow, I'm glad I got that in time. And then the same thing with this guy. See, then when this closes, that's what you have on each side are your moons, and this height here allows for these. Okay, now let's get into the inside and we'll be done. All right, this is the pattern I chose. The paper. So you're going to trim to fit those, and then I cut a 1-inch strip, added my die, and then I came in and I pulled the color out of this piece here is what I'm using so that there's kind of a triangular look here instead of pulling in a different color, so all of a sudden you're going, what? And this will look just like this. So then you've got a nice tuck on both sides, and you can still get some smaller items in there. I used 1/8 of an inch tape so that we can maximize the pocket. You know, it might help if I got this down first. Silly me. I know I'm not the only one that does a squirrel. And I know I have a lot of followers that are outside of the US. Welcome. Thank you. But I thought I would explain that comment I make because I always get questions. What does "I did a squirrel" mean? That means, I think the easiest way I can describe it is you're walking your dog and there's a squirrel that runs up a tree and the dog takes off when you want him focusing on your walk. That's my brain. I did a squirrel. I got going on something else. Okay, I'm lining that right up along this 5/8 score. And then just very carefully line this up. Okay, that side's done. And then this side. And the same thing, I have a 1/2-inch score. I'm sorry, a 1-inch trimmed piece with my die. So this is 1 inch, the blue cardstock. And I'm just laying this down right in front of that score line. Don't move. Okay, there you have it. This is our last piece You've got a nice tuck here, beautiful pattern there, and then that pattern flows to these two tucks here, and then we've got two different size of photo mats with a nice big space down here that you can add something else. All right, let's turn it over. Let's get the big tape out and get it in the album, and you're done. All right. I'm going to run this the majority of the length of those waterfalls so that there's plenty of support there. All right. We are ready to put this in our album. And this is going to come right to the edge. And you can see that all the way through, I was really good and behaved myself. And I did not encroach in on my guide markers by very much. Okay, I'm going to turn this way. I'm going to take this off and this off. Again, I'm going to come to the end, and I am going to be mindful top to bottom that I'm level here. And I will start to peel away. I will burnish once I get inside. Trying to get around those waterfalls I only want to do that once. So, come here. And always remember on this last one that you are pushing back on that hinge so that it stays up straight. Okay, let's get this burnished. Hey, we are done. We are finished. He started off up here. We went this, did this. Oh, I forgot to tell you about these. Bad Charlie, bad Charlie. Okay, pull out, photo pull. These measure 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. I did cover only one side each. I ran a strip of that paper along to hide the seam of my die cut. Now you've got enough that you can do both if you want. 8 by 8 allows you to cover both, and they would still fit in here because that takes up your depth in the pocket the more you put in there. And then this one goes back in here. Okay, forgot all about those. Whew, that was a good catch. Alrighty, we're done. Thank you for playing along. I hope to see you on the next album build. Until then, bye-bye.